Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we'll be looking at our third video in our four-part series, and this video is all about how Donald Trump and Joe Biden can realistically tie on election day on November 3rd, 2020, or whenever the votes are counted and we know who the president is. Our first two videos were on how Joe Biden can realistically win the election and how Donald Trump can realistically win the election. However, our next video, our fourth and final video, is going to be about how Donald Trump can lose the election and still remain president of the United States. But for now, we're going to jump into this video right here. This is our map that we use for every single video. 218 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 163 for Donald Trump. All these blue states in the solid blue are solidly Democratic. The light blue colors are leaning Democratic. Yellow are battleground or toss-up states. The pink color here is leaning Republican rather, and the solid red colors are solidly Republican. Please remember to subscribe and like. And now let's start chatting about these different states. So in our last videos, we had Arizona, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina all going for the president. And we believe that's still the same result that we're going to see on election day, that all four of these states are going to go red. That brings Donald Trump up to 234 to Joe Biden's 218. Another very important state for Republicans in the presidency is Ohio, and it's 18 electoral votes. This is crucial, as many times, and you'll hear this often in the news, that Ohio is critical to a Republican victory to becoming president of the United States. Joe Biden has spent time there and spent money there quite a bit, but Donald Trump has also spent a lot of time in Ohio and is spending a lot of money in Ohio. For this prediction, we are going to assume that Ohio also goes to the president, just as it did in 2016. Same goes for Iowa. We're going to predict that Iowa goes for President Trump, just as it did in 2016. We see it as leaning a little bit more Republican when we break down some of the counties in terms of some of its past and historical voting, as well as recent polls. It does seem to be leaning more Republican. However, taking a look at this map, we are going to assume that Minnesota is going to go to Joe Biden, being a historically liberal state that has time and time again voted for Democratic presidents. It was very close in the last election. However, Hillary Clinton did win it, and we believe that Joe Biden is going to carry that state as well. Further, Joe Biden will most likely carry Pennsylvania. He's been campaigning there a lot. He's doing very well in the poll numbers. Same with Michigan. And Joe Biden does have a connection to Pennsylvania, spending time in Scranton as a child in his youth before moving to Delaware. So we believe some of that connection that he has to Pennsylvania will come through. So this brings us to 264 to 258. Further, New Hampshire, we believe, is going to go to Joe Biden in this scenario. Hillary Clinton carried in 2016. Joe Biden had a very poor showing in the New Hampshire primary, trailing many candidates. However, Hillary Clinton also lost New Hampshire to Bernie Sanders and was able to win it with a decent enough margin that there was no question about whether or not she had won that state. One of the largest states here that we're left with is Wisconsin. So Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes went to Donald Trump in 2016. He won it narrowly. However, he did win Wisconsin with a greater margin than he won Michigan and Pennsylvania. Layering on top of that the current pandemic, Wisconsin and definitely the Democratic Party suffered a bit of a blow in the past few days here, where the Supreme Court denied Wisconsin's request to continue voting or to continue counting absentee ballots after Election Day. The Supreme Court denied that. Therefore, on November 3rd, 2020, all absentee ballots must be counted on that day. And if they cannot be counted on that day, they cannot be counted at all. So why is this a problem? Well, what polling suggests and what just seems to be what we're going to see across the entire country, not just in Wisconsin, is that Republicans are more likely to go vote on Election Day in person than Democrats are. but Democrats are more likely to vote by absentee and mail-in ballots than the Republican counterparts. Therefore, if those absentee ballots aren't counted, that might be, or a majority of them, or even a portion of them aren't counted on election day, there might very well be a disproportional amount of votes for Joe Biden that don't get counted compared to Donald Trump. And that could very well give Donald Trump a victory in Wisconsin. And that is what we are going to predict as well, that Wisconsin will go to the president. This brings us to 268 to 268. But a tie is 269 to 269. So what's missing? Well, it's a second congressional district in Maine and a second congressional district in Nebraska. Just to remind everyone, Maine and Nebraska award 2 electoral votes to whomever wins the entire state and the popular vote in each state. However, they also award an electorate for each congressional district and whoever wins a popular vote in that congressional district. Currently, the second congressional district of each of Maine and Nebraska have been deemed toss-ups. Donald Trump did win both of these in the previous election. Right now, they both seem to be, according to the polls, leaning to Joe Biden. However, we believe that there was before we talk about what we believe, there was a point where Hillary Clinton was leading in the polls in both of those congressional districts as well. And then there was a point where she was only leading in Maine and not in Nebraska. We believe the same thing is going to happen here with Joe Biden, where he may very well take the congressional district in Maine, but lose the one in Nebraska in which Donald Trump would win. Now, why do we think Donald Trump will win Nebraska? Well, one of the things was in 2008, Barack Obama won the second congressional district, as you can see here, with 49.97% of the vote, not even 50%, compared to John McCain's 48.75%. However, Lee Terry remained the Republican representative to the House of Representatives from that same district, and he won his election with Terry was reelected with 52 to 48% of the vote. Therefore, there was a group of people, about 3 to 4% of, or 2 to 3% of people who voted on election day, who actually voted for Barack Obama and voted for a Republican congressman. And given that, that is when we get to this scenario where we think that that small margin that Obama won in that big year where he won a huge electoral landslide victory and won that so narrowly that without a huge blowout this year, we don't think Joe Biden will win that. So this gets us to 269 and 269, an actual dead heat tie. However, what we have here is, if you look at this compared to 2016 rather, the only difference we have is that Joe Biden has won Michigan and Pennsylvania, are taking those away from Donald Trump, and he's taken away one congressional district in Maine. Everything else is the same as 2016. Now, what happens if there's a tie? Well, if there's a tie, according to the Constitution, the House of Representatives will vote and choose who the next president is, and the Senate will vote and choose on who the next vice president is. Now, in terms of the House of Representatives and the Senate, it is the newly elected Congress, not the existing one. Today, Democrats hold the majority of seats in the House of Representatives, and Republicans hold the majority of seats in the Senate. After Election Day, the new incoming Congress will be the one that votes for president and vice president. In the House, it is predicted that Democrats will keep the House, so that could very well then be a Joe Biden victory. But if the Republicans maintain power in the Senate, we may very well have a situation where Mike Pence is the vice president of the United States and Joe Biden is the president of the United States. Also in the Senate, it does say that there needs to be a majority of the whole number of senators in order to elect the vice president. Therefore, that means 51 of the 100 senators must vote for the vice presidential candidate. So this should preclude Mike Pence from being able to break the tie vote in the Senate for his own vice presidential election. However, there are some academics and scholars who argue that he may very well be able to vote for himself and cast a tie-breaking vote in the Senate if that were to occur. However, that's a lot more far-fetched of a scenario, but nonetheless possible. But this is how we believe that there could be a tie on election day between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Thank you. Please remember to subscribe and like, and stay tuned for our next video all about how Donald Trump can lose the election and still remain president of the United States.